York's classic rock, Q1043.
John Fogerty is with us this morning here at Q104.3. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Hi guys.
It's so good to see you. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing you as part of the Never Forget concert to commemorate and honor victims of 9/11 at Northwell Health at Jones Beach Theater this coming Saturday evening. It is a star-studded show. And of course, you're one of the biggest stars. And we thank you so much for participating.
We do.
Oh, thank you. Glad to do it.
How did you get involved, John?
I believe they just called my people, as they say. And I said, man, I'm down with that. And here I am.
What has it been like for you as we make the transition now back to live performances, after being locked down for so long?
Well, I've already played a couple of shows, and I have to admit that while you think you're doing everything like you used to do, some of the things have been tucked away for a year and a half or so. And it was, more butterflies than normal, I suppose. But it's a blessing to be able to play in front of people again, and that's how I feel about it.
When you were shut down like the rest of us, what was the best thing about that, and what was the worst thing for you?
Well, certainly, I don't know if I would say that over the course of the months that we were locked down, I've learned to really appreciate things more. I mean, it's a cliche, but things you just took for granted, you kind of look twice, three times at them. Certainly your own family, I was lucky. I got to play some music with my kids. We called it Fogerty's Factory, and made a few videos over the course of the months, and that was so much fun. That hadn't really happened before, quite in that manner. And so for me personally, that was very enjoyable. We'll actually continue doing that. But I think, like most people, the fact that we survived, number one, and are coming out the other side of this, it really just makes you ponder your blessings.
So what kind of music do your kids like, besides dad's, of course?
The two boys love classic rock, but they have their own spin on that.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, who is 19 and just, she's heading off for her second year of college, she's more contemporary, and I learn a lot more sitting with her in the car. A lot of people I wouldn't necessarily dial in. And
well,
some of that.
Do you say to her, "Who's that?" What's the name of that song?
Usually, I do it because I'm curious. I mean, she's got pretty good taste, and you couple that with the fact that she's 19. So, like all parents, there's all of that seasoning to happen later, but her instincts are great, and it makes it interesting for me. There's a lot of folks I might have never heard of. I'll go back a few years. Ed Sheeran was somebody she really loved many years ago, and I do too. Great song.
Ed Sheeran captured the hearts of young women all over the globe. He really did. Of course, I became your fan when I was 16 years old. So, it's the cycle of life.
What do your two sons do?
Well, they play in my band, which has been great for me, so whenever I'm doing a show, they're there with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Music for me has become this sort of family gathering thing that's really enjoyable. I should interject here that years and years ago in the 90s, when my album Blue Moon Swamp came out, and it, you know how the cycle went in the biz in those days, put out a record and then you tour. And it was time for me to go back out on the road after decades of not touring. And I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I'm not going out there without you. And she looked at that handful of children we have, and she said, well, I'm not going out there without them. So we immediately started touring as a family. They were little kids then. And we've done it that way ever since.
And we had an opportunity to meet your wonderful family
Yes.
when you were in the iHeartRadio Theater in New York a few years ago performing, and that was a special evening. I noticed when I looked at the artist lineup for Saturday's show that there are a lot of performers who became big, big stars coming out of the Bay Area. There is, of course, you. And you came out of the Bay Area, and so did the Steve Miller Band, and so did Journey. I mean, all these years later, these bands that emerged from that milieu, still popular, still headliners, still, doing it. And then just going up the coast to the Pacific Northwest, we have the great Ann Wilson, who will be performing.
Yeah, it's ironic, I suppose, is the word. The fact that folks were really great to be able to break through in those times, and the fact that their music still resonates, which is wonderful, and the fact that that these artists can still perform, it's great.
John, we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary of 9/11, which is so hard to wrap your head around that it's been 20 years. Where were you on 9/11?
I was actually in my little daughter's, well, she wasn't born yet, but it was her room. We were anticipating the birth of Kelsey, who came along on October 5th, just a few weeks after 9/11. But I was in there I was practicing guitar, which I do every morning. And my wife came in and told me about the first plane hitting the tower. And it was, shocking. I'd seen old movies of some old plane hitting, I think, the Empire State Building. That was the first thing I thought of. But when she came in again a few minutes later and told me that another plane had hit another tower, it's really hard to describe the instant effect of that. You right away know that it was planned. It's not an accident. You know that something horrible has happened. It just changed. It changed everything.
You said something just a moment ago that struck me because you are, one of the world's great artists. And you do know that, even though you probably won't say so.
Yeah, I'm blushing here, and thank you for.
I mean, you've really, really been very, very successful. I mean, your first hits were in the '60s. It's 2021, and your music is played every single day, all over the world,
even in commercials.
You've performed thousands and thousands and thousands of times on live stages, and you practice the guitar every morning?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, well, I'm a guitar nut and also a musician, and for some reason that combination, you're never good enough, but luckily music is something you can keep getting better at. Some things in life, like let's say if you're an athlete, there's a physical moment when it starts to go downhill. And the team tells you, well, Willie, it's time to hang them up, and that's got to be a tough moment. In music, you can keep performing and keep getting better if you want to. I know there's a tendency to want to just coast or sit on a plateau, I suppose, but I got bit with the bug of guitar, especially quite young, and it was a mystery to me. And there are still some mysteries I haven't solved, but some of them I'm getting close to. And when you have idols, which I still do, people like Albert Lee, Jimi Hendrix, doing things that you couldn't do at a certain time, and you want to be able to do them. There's sort of a personal pride issue going on, I think.
How old were you? How old were you when you started? And were you self-taught or did you get lessons?
So I'm a little of both of those. I believe I started when I was about 2.5 years old in diapers, singing a song that would bring down the house. I would dance around and sing this old song called Chew Fly Pie, Apple Pan Dowdy. Make your eyes bug out and your tummy say howdy. See what your reaction there was exactly what people would do. And as a ham, I was a ham bone. I would dance around, and these people would like that. I do remember an event that we were in church, and I started doing that, and it disrupted the whole congregation. I mean, everyone has the same reaction to this little kid, this infant, really dancing around singing that song. So they had a hard time shushing me up because I had an audience.
And as a little boy, did you play baseball?
Yes, I did. I loved baseball, still do.
Well, because you are responsible for a standard, probably the biggest baseball song since "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and it's become a part of Americana. Your homage to the sport.
Well, I'm so blessed to have that in my repertoire because it really does reflect how I feel, and I had felt that way for years and years and years. And since I'm a musician songwriter, at some point my brain crossed the little bridge from just being a super fan that with a little boy's idealism into realizing I could express it with a song.
Well, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Took the thoughts of millions and millions and millions and millions of young kids and put it to music for the first time.
Well, and
it's so obvious, but nobody else did it. You did it.
But it came from real life. I would be watching the game of the week on Saturday afternoon. There used to be only one baseball game a week at the height of the season, usually during the summer.
On TV, yeah.
We didn't have all those, other channels going on and everything. And so it was a really special thing. And I would sit down and watch that game. And then perhaps maybe there was a young phenom on the bench that hadn't even played a game yet. And say your team or, one of the teams that you tend to identify with, perhaps the Yankees, would be in the thick of it and maybe not doing so well. I would transfer my identity to that young phenom, and I'd be shouting at the television screen, "Put me in, coach!" I'm gonna save the day here. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. I'd be shouting at the screen, just like every fan does, and that I did that for years and years, and so often that one day when I came up with the guitar lick that is the beginning of Center Field, and I started playing that over and over and realized that somehow it was connected to baseball, I started writing a song, and the first thing out of me was "Put me in, coach."
And of
How
course
long did it take?
Well, the initial excitement and some form of the song came pretty quickly, but then because I like to think I'm a craftsman. Ha ha. Anyhow, that part of it took more weeks. It's just I like to let things kind of simmer until I can get all the little details right. It's sort of the natural. For me, that's a normal process of writing a song.
So how do you know when it's done?
Oh my goodness, you've asked.
That's the toughest question, Shelley. You just asked an artist like the toughest question. When do you put the lid on it to say, okay, it's done?
Some of my songs that you know very well still aren't done. Something like I don't know. I can't think of one right now. Now, Proud Mary definitely is done, and Center Field is done also. But and I don't know how to answer your question other than Proud Mary was the first one that it was really my moment graduating into the major leagues. When I finished that song, I had never really written a truly great song before. I admired other great songwriters, namely Lennon and McCartney, etc., the pantheon of songwriters. And I'd never had a song like theirs, although I sure, aspired to that, and they were my idols. And Proud Mary, after the initial inspiration, I went in the house and started, going through the process that I had done a million times. But this time, something really remarkable came out of me. And about an hour later, I was holding the paper that I had written these words on, and I understood that I had a song form and all that. And I was looking at it, and I really began to tremble because I realized this was really good. I had never done that before. I recognized it as a really good song that would measure up to some of the other people. I mentioned Lennon and McCartney, Hoagie Carmichael, Lieber and Stoller, folks that had really great songs. I mean, there's a million of them that I admire. But anyway, I recognized that moment. It was the first time that I ever felt that way. And I also realized I was the only one in the whole universe that knew this. It was such a strange way to be, for a while there, maybe weeks.
But it didn't take long for the world to catch on.
Well, that was probably somewhere in June of 1968. It didn't get recorded until October and finally came out on January 1st of 69. And by then, the affirmation from radio really helped. But
now you told the story, well, on our show. Actually, you told the story, and I'm sure you've told the story thousands of times. But you told the story to us. Gee, it was over a decade ago now, I think, about the notebook from Walgreens.
Oh yeah, it was actually Long's Drugs, but
okay,
whatever. I don't know if that store's still there. Sure. And the very first entry in that book is the words "Proud Mary."
And you still have that book, of course.
Yes, I do. It's kind of tucked away. I've lost it a couple of times.
Oh, you can't. You've written so many songs. They're all in that book.
Yes.
And it was a
feeling when I misplaced the book for a while. Gosh, I was very uneasy, but we found it, and now it's in a safe. I don't know if it's ever coming out of there again.
Smart. Does it bug you? Does it bug you with Bad Moon Rising that people sing Bathroom on the Right?
No, not only does it not bug me, I sing that myself nowadays. I mean, have fun with it. People were mishearing the words, as we all do, especially rock and roll with singers who get excited and kind of rush their words. That line that Bruce sings in Blinded by the Light, and it's something about a fiduciary and a...
It's a deuce. It's a deuce, except the Manfred Mann lead singer didn't know how to pronounce the word deuce.
What's he know about a 32 Ford? So anyway, there's a bunch of them, and the more echo there is on the singer's voice, the more these things will happen.
And just to show how things can enter into your brain and become reality, even if they're not, you mentioned that it was at Long's Pharmacy when you bought the notebook, which was like a notebook that you would use as a student in school, just a little regular notebook that you wrote all those wonderful lyrics in. But it's Walgreens in my head now because of being down on the corner of Healthy and Happy.
Oh yeah, the Walgreens used Down on the Corner for a series of commercials, several years back.
Yeah, but I can't get that out of my head.
It's iconic. In commercials, that's iconic. That
Right.
doesn't happen too often.
Well, and you guys probably know I resisted all that. I'm such an old codger from the 60s as far as how music is used. I was, and the record company would do stuff and not even tell me. And it's kind of funny that, Jim, you mentioned that commercial now because yeah, these days that's one of my greatest hits. So it all gets kind of mixed up in this funny gumbo. And I'm much more mellow about the world. Obviously, we all are. I mean, back in we were ready to, take over and uh, get rid of everything bad and only leave good stuff. We thought it was that simple.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a revolution.
Well, we do have a lot of good stuff, and music is included in that list of good stuff. It uplifts, it inspires, it creates an opportunity for people to experience nostalgia for their youth and dreams for their future. And you've been a big part of it for decades, and we get to experience your performance live on Saturday night at the Northwell Health at Jones Beach Theater. It is a very special concert featuring Journey, the Chainsmokers, the Steve Miller Band. Jesse Colin Young is going to be there. Ann Wilson of Heart, the country star Lee Brice, Wyclef Jean, Gavin DeGraw, Flo Rida. I mean, it's just star-studded. I mean, that's not even a complete list of the performers. And of course, the great John Fogerty. And we all look forward to seeing you on Saturday night. We'll be there.
Yes, we will.
I'll be looking forward to it. Like to see you guys too. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. And have a great day. We'll see you.
All right. See you Saturday. Thank you.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.